Today's video is not sponsored, but it is dedicated to my friend Lee, who is an absolute beginner at sewing, and so I'm going to teach him and you how to do some hand stitching today. Hand stitching is easy because the barrier to entry is very low. You just need a needle, some thread, some fabric, and some scissors. An iron and thimble are optional but highly recommended. The hardest part of all of this is going to be threading your needle. The smaller the eye, the smoother it'll run through your fabric, but that also means that it's going to be harder to get your thread into the eye of the needle. I suggest practicing at this, and here's one of my tricks. Some people are going to be grossed out by this, but the easiest thing to do is to lick your fingers and use your saliva to point the thread. There is science behind it. Water is not going to do the same thing to help the fibers stick together. Saliva is the best thing for this. So wash your hands before, wash your hands after, do what you need to do. But lick your fingers, point your thread, snip the little tip off of it. If you're going to twist it in the direction that it's already twisted so that it stays together. And then you should be able to get it through the eye of your needle. Once your needle is threaded, you're going to want to tie a knot in the end of it. This is my little trick for that, but you can do it however you want. Again, lick your finger. I know, we're not going to discuss it. You want to unload on me in the comments? Go ahead. I need the engagement. Tell me how gross you think it is. Once you have your finger full of saliva, wrap the thread around your finger once, and then roll your thumb and finger together before you pull the thread taut. This is a one-handed knot. It's not going to come undone. It makes a pretty big knot, so you don't want to bury it in between your seams or whatever. Next, I want you to get a straight edge. It doesn't have to be a ruler, although a clear ruler is really good for marking seam allowances. You'll want to mark your stitch line. If you're just practicing, a line will do. Now, pick up your threaded needle, and you're going to stick it in the fabric. And then you're going to stick it back out of the fabric. And then you're going to stick it back in the fabric. And back out of the fabric. And once you fill up the room on your needle, you're going to push the needle through all the way and pull the thread taut. This is called a running stitch. Your goal here is to make your stitches as consistent as possible. They do not need to be super tiny. The smaller they are, the more durable the stitching is going to be. But consistency is what you're aiming for here. If it helps you to mark little dots where you want to come up and go down, go ahead. This is the most basic stitch. It is not the most durable stitch. For places like underarms and places that get a lot of tension, you're going to want to use a backstitch. And it's exactly what it sounds like. You take a stitch and then you go back. You take another stitch and then you go back. You can go any distance back that you like. Traditionally, it is a full stitch width or half a stitch width. This is a very sturdy seam. It is heck to undo though. So if you're going to do a back stitch for an entire seam, make sure that you're putting it in the right place. The next stitch that I think it's imperative to know is a felling stitch. It is not an invisible stitch. It will be more invisible if you use the same color thread on your fabric, but anytime you have a ridge of fabric over a flatter piece of fabric, you'll want to use this. This is also used for felling down seam allowances. If it's a structural seam, you want to make sure that your stitches are very close together. If it's not a structural seam, you can space them wider apart. A lot of people think that you need to have a sewing machine in order to sew very sturdy seams. This is not the case. For thousands of years before the invention of the sewing machine, we had clothes and they were sewn by hand. It does take more time, probably around by a factor of 10, to sew by hand than it is to sew by machine. But once you get a practice at it, it's very meditative and very calming. And it's something that you can do sitting in a chair watching your favorite show. You don't have to be sitting at a machine. I believe that handwork is very important for continued mental health. So it is my honor and pleasure to be able to give these skills to you. I encourage you just to make up some little squares, some little pillows, maybe try some hand quilting, something throwaway that doesn't have a purpose. You don't have to sew for a purpose. Just make sure that you get the practice in. And if you practice for 20 minutes a day, before you know it, you are going to be ready to hand stitch garments together. If you are interested in machine sewing, don't worry because I will be talking all about that in the future. But for now, we're going to stick with low barrier of entry just to try and make sure that people get skills developed. Please make sure to practice, drink your water, and craft a life worth living. If you made it this far, comment "ew, gross" down below. If you're not already part of our weird little family, I'd like to invite you to subscribe. And if you hit the bell notification, you'll be amongst the first to know when I upload new videos. It's usually on Saturday. I'm less than 100 subscribers away from the new lowered requirement for YouTube partnership. Once I get there, I'll be able to offer YouTube memberships, which, much like Patreon, I will be trying to offer early access to as many videos as possible, as well as perhaps some live streams and other members-only benefits. If you have any ideas of what I should offer my YouTube channel members when I get there, please comment, let me know. I'd love to have your input. Thank you so much for all of the time and effort you give to me. I truly appreciate it. Take care of my friend, and I'll do my very best to take care of yours. Hello, sir.